Chapter 10. Daniel chapter 10. I don't know if you're listening. Thank you. That was good. You did good. Thank you very much. Daniel chapter 10. I know we've been on Daniel since last year. Daniel chapter 9 since last year. And I truly have not covered. I've covered just briefly Daniel chapter 9. But we're on chapter 10. Daniel's response to the angel and the vision. Chapter 10 of the book of Daniel is the introduction to the prophetic vision. And the vision is going to be in detail in chapter 11 and chapter 12. It concludes in chapter 12. The preparation is in chapter 10. Chapter 11 is the content of the vision. Chapter 12 is the final instructions and explanation of the vision. And really, we should read all three chapters as one chapter. You do remember that Daniel didn't write in chapters and verses. You realize he wrote this as soon as he had the vision. He went back to his place and he wrote the last three chapters as we know it. It encompasses a time period that extends from King Cyrus through the second coming of Jesus Christ. And they belong together. Therefore, these three chapters should be read through several times at one setting. And we have discovered that each of the first 9 chapters contain one major subject. Tonight, I truly want to, as we started the book of Luke, what we're understanding is how is Luke, is it possible for Luke to speak to us today? Is it relevant for us today? And we showed that last week in our lesson. There's a lot of reversals in the book of Luke. What was one of the reversals that we talked about last week? I talked about 3 reversals last week. Bill? You weren't here. I know. I'm just kidding. 3 reversals that society got mixed up on, and Luke addresses those issues. Now that we come to the book of Daniel, I want to show you how that though it was prophecy for that day, God through his prophets speaks to us today. God delivers activity. Oops. Let me see. I think I do better on my Kindle. Sorry. Chapter 10, verse 14. Daniel chapter 10 and verse 14. Frankie, if you will, please. I always start on that side for some reason. This is the key to chapter 10.
Now I am come to make thee understand what shall befall thy people in the latter days. For yet the vision is for many days.
What Daniel 10 gives us is a unique, brief insight regarding what's going to take place in the future. Believe me, as I was studying this, there are several doctrines that I would love to launch out on that I'm not tonight, and I don't know if I will. The first one is angels. I've done this. I've got a 12-week lesson on angels that I did that help us understand how God uses angels to do his ministry. We won't do that, obviously, tonight, but God uses angels to fulfill his purpose and how to come about in his ministry. Now we come to the fourth of the 4 visions God gave Daniel. The first vision was to King Belshazzar. The second vision in chapter 8 to King Belshazzar. The third vision came the first year of Darius the Mede, and the fourth came in Cyrus the Persian. About 2 years have passed since Daniel's prophecy of the 70th week. I know it took us 2 years to get through Daniel 9, but 2 years now have passed. In your time schedule, 2 years have passed since the prophecy in Daniel chapter 9, verses 24 through verse 27. Cyrus has issued a decree that allows the Jews to return to Jerusalem in 538. That's in Ezra 1:1, 2 Chronicles 36:23, Isaiah 44:28, which was written 150 years before Cyrus decreed it. When Isaiah wrote it, he said that Cyrus is going to ask the people of Israel to go back to Babylon, from Babylon to Jerusalem, to rebuild the city. And he said that 150 years before he was ever born. And yet, despite the decree, after spending 70 years in Babylon, you would think at the end of that 70 years that they'd all want to leave Babylon, wouldn't you? After it had been taken out of their land, you would have thought after 70 years under the Babylon captivity that they'd all rush immediately to get out of Babylon. Guess what? Only 49,360 left, including 737,337 servants, 200 singers. I think probably this caused some concern to Daniel. What was Daniel's prayer during the 70 years? What was his prayer? To forgive their sins, and that during the 70 years of captivity, they would turn their hearts towards God. He prayed 3 times a day. He prayed towards Jerusalem. He pleaded. He begged. He went to the lion's den. He had all kinds of trouble. He pleaded and pleaded and pleaded that these people would change their heart. And when Cyrus gave the decree they could go back to Jerusalem, only 49,000 decided to go. Yep. Isn't that amazing? They had become so acclimated to the profane in Babylon that they no longer were concerned, and they didn't have the heart to go back and build a church. How easy it is for us to get acclimated to today. Guess what? I have a Kindle Fire. It didn't take me long after it came out for me to get one. Of course, my daughter bought it for me, but other than that, it was okay.
You're obsessed with it.
I mean, hello? I'm not obsessed. I'm obsessed with buying shirts. This is a new shirt, by the way.
We believe that.
You know, I started a new style.
$1.99?
$1.99. I mean, how can you beat that? Where did I go yesterday? I wanted to buy a $70 shirt. I wanted to buy one for $70. Just look just like this. So the Lord said, that's stupid. So I went to Kmart, and Kmart had this on sale for $1.99. So I bought it. Okay, anyway. We become so acclimated. What the world has, we have. Correct? If they use it, we use it. If HD, you remember HD TV? Is it HD?
Yeah.
High definition.
High definition?
Yep.
Hello? We had to have it. I mean, we've got to have the latest trend. Who wants to go back to Jerusalem and start all over again? They certainly didn't. Maybe we should mourn and weep and plead for the people in our churches that has, in so many incidents, fallen into the wiles and the ways of the devil in the world. So few desire the ancient paths of God's word. Jeremiah 6:16, Jeremiah 18:15, and his highway of holiness Isaiah 35:8, holy conduct is congruent with his holy word, and yet 75% of people who walk the aisle forget that they've even went down the aisle to even say anything.
Well,
We make
I
hypocrites
just
out of...
didn't want to go to hell. I didn't really want to.
Well, I understand that. God does save us. I'm just saying is we need to do it right. In the 3rd year of Cyrus, king of Persia, a message was revealed to Daniel, whose name was called Belshazzar. The message was true, but the appointed time was long, and he understood the message and had understanding of the vision. Daniel marks his time of this event. He specifically stated when he received his vision. A word was manifested to me, and the word was true, although the time was long. Okay? Trying to figure that out. Daniel mentions his Babylon name in this verse. Do you ever know why? There's various conjectures. One, he wished to be upright. He wanted to be known. And by this time, after 70 years in Babylon, probably nobody knew him by Daniel. The Medes, the Persians, and the Chaldeans probably did not know his name as Daniel. Daniel was his given name. This was his Babylonian name. He had pretty much acclimated into Babylon style of life per se. And so he wanted to make sure that the book of Daniel also included him, including his Babylon name, so they would know that they both were the same in one. Most had never heard his name. And he wanted to get out this prophecy throughout all the regions in which he was well known under the name. And he wanted also to let his people know that not only was he Belshazzar, but he also was Daniel. He wanted them to know that he hadn't abandoned them, that he still knew that he was Jewish, that he still knew that he was part of God's children, even though for these 70 years he was so well known as being a Babylon individual. And Daniel wanted others to know who he was. Notice the word. The word says long on. What does it say? It says whose name was called, and the king, and things were true, but the time appointed was long. You can look at it two different ways. Either it was the vision was long in time, or it was long in sermons, or in the vision was long. It all depends on how you look at it. The Old Testament used the word of the Lord. The word it says was the word of the Lord, and it's found in the Bible 242 times in 225 verses, and it is served as a technical form, prophetic revelation. It means prophetic revelation. So the focus is on the content of what was said, but it also carries overtone of the actual words themselves. The message was true. Notice that Daniel said the message was true. You would think that if Daniel said it, it would be obvious that it was true.